All right, everybody, hello. It's nice to have you here, even though you cannot talk, but you can chat. So let me do this. Let me share the screen and share the most important link. That's where we are. Okay. That's the link that you need. I'll do this. I will take that link as a bit.ly link and send it to you on text, on chat. Here you are. That's everything that you need. And also on text here, I will say that hello, everyone. And please tell us where you are logging in. All right. I'm just verifying that you guys hear me and you have the link. Okay, you honestly have the link because I have those little funny pictures here. Plus it says 5 more and hello from Vallejo. That's George Johnson says. George Zotto says from DC. And Cher is from London. Okay, that's awesome. By the way, Cher, do you notice that the Tate Gallery with Sargent is closing? And you absolutely have to visit there before they close. I get an email from them. Olay, okay, hello from Colombia, from Dallas, and from University of Illinois and Austin, Texas. Okay, wonderful, guys. Very happy to have you here. What I will do is this. I will go over what we do and what those links are, and then we'll start. And please forgive me that I'm not allowing you all to talk by default like I was used to, but it's just frustrating how the bot took over. So that's why I'm not doing. Hi, Raj. Okay, so that's the link. That's what you need. The link is to what I call Advances in AI, a webinar, where I just talk about what's going on. And I welcome your reaction. At least you can start. Okay, share that. I will give it to you, right? But that's later on. Okay, so my name is Mark. I usually chat about what's going on in AI and I make it personal. I'll tell you what the news are. I will also try everything that I'm talking about. So here you are, and we've been doing it for, I think, over 2 years by now. So if you scroll down, you will see all the previous conversations. But today, I want to talk about the news and the database agents. All right. Before I do that, however, this is where all of the supporting materials are. So if you ever need to anything downloaded, it's here. And that is the learning path. And since it always growing, that's the one thing that people always ask. So I was just teaching at a certain corporation that I will not mention, but that's the first thing they said. Give us that link. Okay, here is the link. Okay, and that is all the courses that I said I recommend you take. And the latest courses are right here. That's AI agents and database agents. And because of that, we'll talk about agents. That's the first thing that we do. But even before that, I'll tell you something else. So that's the link, by the way. Let me give you that link. Of course, you have it on my link, but that's the learning path. Learning path. And if you really want to go, then start from the very beginning. The first two are ideal to do that. All right, closing that, except that right now, that is the link to the course. There's lots of knowledge in the world, and all of that knowledge is free, is almost like that. On the right here is the Git repository. So if I finally do and create a Git repository as a copy of whatever was taught, right, agents is the way to go, and we'll be talking about agents. But if on the right you have a link, that is the link to my repository. So if I click here, there I'll go to, let's say, whatever it was, but it will be that chapter on Git repository. All right, that is, so closing that and going back to our outline. The news, that is the link to enter a news, and I am not going to give it to you. I mean, not going to talk much about that, except for one thing. The term agentic, it is so much the way of, as John puts it, the way of things today, that I need to say it. I say agentic. And what Andrew is talking about is that why is that a term agentic? Seems to be agents. That's all we should be talking about. But he explains that it's a question. Is that a real agent or no? So he even brings a funny pictures, and some of the systems are real agents, some are just pretend to be, and in order to avoid any kind of disagreement, we all call it agentic. That's why you see this very strange, not English word, which avoids all disagreements. So if anything has to deal with agents, then it is called agentic, all right? And the rest of the news are right here. I will also show my latest news. So, okay, I was talking to a venture capitalist today. Yes, my first venture capitalist on the Sky Road. And she asked me, have you heard about Harvey? Because I was explaining that I'm interested in AI as it applies to law. And I did not hear about Harvey. Of course, I said I did, but Harvey is not a hurricane. There was a hurricane called Harvey, but that didn't bother them. They called it Harvey, and that's a startup that is doing something in AI which I need to learn about, and therefore I will put it as the next thing. So when we're preparing for the next webinar here, I'll make a copy and I do it here, and it will be the next week, 21, right? And the first thing will be Harvey. Well, news, whatever they will be, but the next one will be Harvey. And we'll talk about this, but right now I'm not even ready. Instead, we're right here, and we will talk about agents. And the agents that we will talk about are Microsoft. Microsoft, they have a course about agents, and that agent does quite miraculous things. Okay, here it is. So that is what it does, that you can look at the letter. This is the course itself, and I think we will at least start there. And then I will show my repo and a few things that are very amazing to see. So let's do that. Let me stop sharing, share again. But this time also share the sound. Okay, with the secret thought that it is always good to hear from the horse's mouth. So here is the horse's mouth.
Welcome to Building Your Own Database Agent, built in partnership with Microsoft. In this course, you learn how LLMs can interact with structured data like tabular data or SQL databases. This is very useful when you're building a system to answer questions using data sources with tables of data, rather than needing to find maybe an analyst to translate a question to a SQL database query. You see how a database agent can automatically input a question and generate a sequence of actions, that is, function calls, to retrieve the relevant data. Specifically, in this course, you learn how to build your own AI agent to interact with tabular data and SQL databases. Along the way, you learn about some of the key building blocks for agents, and we'll be using the LangChain Agents framework. I'm delighted that our instructor for this course is Adrian Gonzalez Sanchez. He is a data and AI specialist at Microsoft, teaches at the university level, and is also author of the Azure OpenAI O'Reilly book.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm very excited to be here. In this course, you will learn how to deploy LLMs to build your AI agent, implement RAG with tabular data, develop your own database agent, build a function calling system, integrate Azure OpenAI Assistant API. And you'll go through this.
All right. Sorry to interrupt, but what I saw was much more amazing than what they say. So for that, I do that. I go back here, I go into our repo, and I will open our repo. Now, what you will see here are the first two notebooks. And I will show them right here in the repo. So those who are very knowledgeable, they will notice that I am taking a shortcut. My fault, right? Copenhagen. Even though I always say the Italian way. Okay, so the very first one is just an introduction. So that will simply tell you what you need to do, what we're going to do, and how to connect. That is important, so we'll go through that. But the real miracle will happen in lesson number 2. Okay, so what they do is give you a complete thing, and I gave you a complete thing here. If you want to see what the requirements, they are right here. If you want to install them as they are, you'll say pip install -r requirements. That's very nice of them. They give the exact version. And I think that if you want to be proper, you should create another virtual environment just for that and then play with it. But here we are looking at what's in the first lab. So we get very, very standard things, right? Nothing special. So far, just the regular Python tools. And then we connect to Azure OpenAI. That's interesting because if you connect usually to ChatGPT, then that's a little bit different. What we're doing is the latest version at that time of the OpenAI. Now it is GPT-4 and GPT-4o for omnivorous, I think omnipotent, omniscient, but whatever it is, they keep pretty much with the development version, and that is the end point. That's the only thing that you may have to change if you're running your own. Then you are doing the LangChain. Now, the LangChain is the standard tool. That's one of the first tools, and that's very interesting tension between the LangChain and the Pinecone. The LangChain says, guys, use my library, and they keep upgrading and updating, so they include human message. That's a new thing that you never saw before. And they also include Azure Chat OpenAI. Azure Chat OpenAI is pretty much the same as Chat OpenAI, but it points to Azure. Okay, that is the start, the preparation. But that is LangChain. So what LangChain says is we're good enough, use us. What Pinecone says is that forget this LangChain, just use Pinecone and your quality will be even better. So there are two kinds of approaches. You find both of them in the lab. So if we go to that lab, then the collection that I'm giving you includes everything. Right here, you see that I have at least 27 different collections, and they're all good. So that we saw, we are going with the LangChain approach. It's interesting that Microsoft is so much open source, but I'm bribed. I have free credits from them. Okay, so then you prepare your prompt. Pretty much the same as usual. You say something that you're going to say. In that case, they're going to translate, and right away, model invoke. So model invoke it's that model. It's Azure Chat OpenAI model. And of course, the guy who is teaching, I believe, is Spanish. He knows French, so he doesn't miss his chance to read in French. J'aime les voitures rouges et la maison bleue, mais mon chien est jaune, which means, as we know, I like red cars and blue houses, but my dog is yellow. But of course, then he says, but I'm Spanish, so me gustan las coches rojas y las cosas azules, right? Pero mi perro es amarillo. After that, you're prepared. So what are you prepared for is the real conversation with the data, because that you can get from any ChatGPT. All right, and to really talk to the data, he first explains how he is going to do it. Well, to talk to the data, usually you build the RAG architecture. Now, that RAG is another tension. So RAG architecture does this. It's called retrieval augmented generation. And one way is to retrain your model and add your data to the model. But right away, he says, it's just too hard. We are not going to do it. Instead, we select the important information. We call it the context. And that important information becomes a database. It has its pluses. The plus of using a RAG is that you can make it any size, as big as you want. That is the good side of it. And you can search it. So you can have millions of different articles, which would be pretty hard to stick into ChatGPT. So that's why it's good to use a RAG. And you also don't have to retrain the model. Why is it bad to use a RAG? Is because that's a weak technology. It is a technology dating back to 2013. And today we're dealing with technology that is 2023. And where does it show? It shows in one of the courses. If you look back, there was a course which said, look, RAG is not a good idea, but we can fix it. And they fix it because RAG misses a lot. So it could be that in your RAG, you will not get the right fragments and will not send them to ChatGPT and you're lost. Well, that's what happens when you're doing practical AI. Anybody can talk to ChatGPT, right? We know that. But to make it really useful for your use case, well, that's where the big fight is right now. Okay, back. They are using RAG. They will put all the data into the database, and to answer any question, they will first ask RAG. Okay, but where it becomes interesting is if your RAG contains the data. That's something new. I have not seen it. That's the first time I saw it. It says RAG to SQL database via LangChain agents. What does it exactly mean? I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so that's what you do then. You import the regular Python themes, and it's the same. He showed us the previous one, not purpose, just to show that we're going to use regular Python. We are going to use human message as an object or a class from LangChain. And we're also going to talk to Azure Chat OpenAI, which is just the same as chat. But then we're going to talk to data and not talk to text. That is interesting. So how? First of all, you need that data. In this case, they prepare data locally, right here, ./data. That's one way. Another way is get it from wherever. But the data, of course, anybody can get the data. So you get that data and bring it, read it into a data frame. So you have your data in a data frame. Now, the great step is this. So we import the agents, and these agents know how to talk to data and not to your regular book. So you create exactly that. You create an agent that knows how to talk to data. That is a lot of magic. That magic started, I believe, in 2018 when Google published their first paper. And the magic is an automatically generating an SQL query from the text, from the question. So, for example, you can ask how many rows are there? Well, the way to know how many rows is ChatGPT would not know at all. By the way, ChatGPT by itself doesn't know anything about your collection. So you cannot ask how many documents either. But here it's harder because how many rows can only be done with SQL question. And this is where the magic is. It's create punt the data frame, nothing new, agent, the one who knows to convert your words into SQL. Well, that magic is completely hidden. It's in the sleeve of the magician, and that's what it does. But to make it much more fun, it actually tells you. It says, I need to find out the number of rows. This can be done using the shape attribute of the data frame, which returns a tuple, where the first element is the number of rows and the second is the number of columns. All right, we don't need it, but that is done to just impress us. Then he shows how he does it. That's how he thinks. And then he says, I now know the final answer, and it is this. Finish chain, that's the result. That is just a preparation for all the magic that we will see. But what if I need something more complex? Something that is described here. What if I want to know a question that would be like here? How many patients were hospitalized during July 2020 in Texas? Remember, that data is from COVID here. And we are reasonably out of this really scary thing. So here we are. We want to know how many people were hospitalized in July 2020 in Texas. Why did they choose Texas? That's just to please us because we're in Texas. And nationwide, compare it to nationwide or all the state. So that is a real good question. No ChatGPT by itself knows how to do it. However, that agent added to ChatGPT does. And not only it does, but it also shows you what it is thinking. So let's see. First of all, you can tell it use that particular column. So you can add to its thinking. Secondly, it corrects its mistake as it goes. One of the lines says, oh, that is undefined. That's probably because you didn't do this. And so he does it. So he's thinking out loud. And then he says, the statistic confirms that there were no hospitalization according to the data, and that is strange. So not only he fixes errors, okay, not only converts your words into SQL, he even right away analyzes that and comments philosophically that he has to go with the data given. Now he knows the final answer and even the explanation. I thought that's quite amazing. Now you might see the shortcut that I'm using. That's a picture. That's not generated. If I run it in real life, let's run it in real life. For running it in real life, I need to go into the project. Let's open AI Labs. Here we are. And I better start the conda activate open AI, because that will at least have most of the things that I need. So now I say Jupyter Lab, which starts all the labs in real life on localhost. You see localhost, and that's the one I was looking at. So I'm good about that. I can show you what the philosophical approach is. We are building a RAG, we're building it on CSV, comma separated value. We're using the RAG approach, and we do not know how we're breaking the data into reasonable pieces as the RAG does, but somehow it's happening. That is the code, and we can even run that. The only problem is that it will probably not work. There you are. Because I don't have what? LangChain OpenAI. That's what I don't have. Well, I told you that I'm using a shortcut. I'm only showing you the results, and even those results I'm showing as picture. But of course, it's very nice to show it live, and you know, I will be an honest dude if I say now make it live. So we're right here, right? And we were doing this. And so I should say, yeah, I should say make it live. But right now I'm showing you the result. All right, I will hopefully fulfill that promise and make it live. Meanwhile, I'm demonstrating what it really does. That's an agent that talks to the data, that uses LLM, in this case, OpenAI, LLM, ChatGPT, and the RAG approach. Okay, so I will pause for a little while and allow you to ask questions. And if you want to talk, just tell me. So here I am, stopping the share and asking questions. All right, but if there are no questions, or if they will come, then I go back to share the screen here, and I'm going back to our outline, what I want to cover. So one other thing that I didn't do last time was, okay, now the same agents, but in Langraph. That I promised to do, and in my repository, and there also I didn't do it. So that's a great course. I absolutely need it. So let me do that. To be an honest dude, I should copy that and also make it live. Otherwise, what's the use? And I'll tell you what the problem is. It's a good problem to have. But the problem is that there's so much new information every time that I just don't cope. I promised to do it live. I showed you the capability. That's really what you need. But the end result is that I don't do it. So I'll try to be good this time. Make it live. Okay, that's the next step. Now I see a question on the chat. So I'm going there. Great session, says George. Thank you. Is there a way to interact with an SQL database? Exactly. Great question. That is the next session. Next session. And in their case, it's here. So we're looking at their course. No, that's their course. So in this one, they connect directly to the database, which of course was the intent from the very beginning. And how do they do it? Move the data. They take that same data just to compare, move it into the database. But what you are interested is prepare the SQL prompt. And now, where is the connection to the database? Create agent. That's the SQLite. Okay. Okay, it's a small database, but it's good enough. A SQLite is a database in memory. and no setup is needed. I think no security either, but it works great for the lab. So, that's a valid question. Let's try it. That's the whole purpose of our webinars, is we try everything. Okay, John, you're working on that, but not on the sequel, right? You're working on other agentic ideas. That's great. Do you want to show it next time? So at least I do that. Make it live and connect to DB. Obviously, connection to DB will be easy because it's in memory. All right, at least I'll show this next time. Thank you, guys. All right, meanwhile, you can keep asking. I'm here. All right, and we are on June 14th, so we are right here. And we covered more or less this agentic. We also covered this. So I wanted to mention what is going on with the AI tutor. You may remember that AI tutor is the idea that AI should be a tutor. And it's everywhere right now. It's on Khan Academy, and it is also in the Coursera, where you can say, I don't want to listen, summarize the whole course for me, and then boom, click on the button to ask questions. All of that is already implemented. But the question is, it all depends upon your specific application, your specific course. So that's one. And the next ideas are these. So let me show you. I'm showing you not an open repository. I'm showing you just mine. But as you may remember, Amazon sponsored implementing that with their money and with their implementers, and that's the code. So as such, it has the RAG architecture, it has the fast API, and it has our materials. So you will be able to learn Kafka from there, and not the Kafka, the writer, because if you ask ChatGPT, train me in Kafka, it will go to the writer, which is much more interesting. But in any case, that is what the crux of the thing. So where I'm working on AI tutor, and the AI tutor will have two parts. One is the trainer. But when I explain this to people, they said, train is not a problem. We have trainers. What we don't have is writing materials. And that showed me a very interesting new trend. The very interesting new trend is that there's so much education that sometimes you need trainers, but sometimes you just have a very special course that other people maybe do have and you don't. So the AI tutor should know how to write courses. Not only that, look here, in the writer, you need to know who you're talking to. You can tell ChatGPT that, look, you are teaching an audience of proficient AI engineers, or you're talking to novices, or you're talking to the fifth graders. All of that completely changes the course, right? And who is better equipped to do it with your help, guys, than ChatGPT to rewrite the course on the fly? That's number one. But number two, and just as important, is by now, and I'll tell you what I mean by now, but by now, lots of people know lots of things. What I mean is that I've been teaching for the last 10 years, and our first courses were all introductions. Introduction to this, introduction to that. Let's look at elephant scale. That's elephant scale. These are the courses. Now, let's search for the word introduction. And, right? They're all introductory. But today you come into the class and nobody's on the introduction level. They all know stuff and they want deep answers to specific questions. That's what changed. And if so, you need prepare new courses. So our goal is to know what you know, And even more important, what you will know, what you want to know after that. That is unfinished, work in progress, but I think very exciting part of AI tutor. So here it is. I promised you the steps, and I promised you what are the new goals. Well, I hope the next week I'll have a big update, because there's no time to just announce something and you need to jump at it and do it right away. That is the new things. Juan asks, very interesting, I'm going some tests with ChatGPT. Yes. Can we restrict sensitive data to be returned by the agent? Yes, Juan, you can tell it. You can say, hey, agent, only use this data or only return it to me. And there are enough guarantees. That's why many people use Microsoft, because it's giving you more promises. Whether they are true or no, that's you have to ask the hackers. But the promises that your data doesn't travel outside. So yes, you can first of all tell it. Don't invent a way to stop the leak of information, but just tell don't leak my information. And then you can go deeper. The answer is yes. That's where you can start. All right. And then we also had an interesting question from Charles Delena, or Charles Delena, and he was asking about Simple Academy AI. Well, I found the Academy, I looked at it, and I'm sorry to say, life is short and there's no time to be too polite. I think it's a bogus. That's what I saw. I tried to sign up and it didn't even send me an email, and it just sounds too nice. Like there are 11,000 prompts. Sorry, what are you going to do with the 11,000 GPT prompts? You can't make any sense out of that. So my very unqualified opinion is that unless somebody convinces me otherwise, that is a bogus. All right, and that is it. That's all I wanted to talk about. So, guys, I'll stop my screen share. I will ask if there are any more questions. And if there are more, then do one of the two. You can either ask them or prepare and send them my way, and I will try to do my research, and they will appear next time in our conversation. So guys, thank you very much for being here. Honestly, I get much more, or at least I get as much as you do, right? And that's why it's so good to do it. Now, Ami wants to develop a logistic application for supply chain using AI. Well, that's a great question. And if you don't mind, I'll put it right there. Put it for the next question. But what I also want to mention, so I'm putting it into the next session. But what I want to mention is that I got an intern, a high school intern, who is very interested in using quantum computing for logistics. So you hit the sweet spot. I'll talk about how they can use quantum computing for logistics and maybe AI. That would be awesome to combine the two. All right. Wow. Have I reviewed the EU AI app? Yes, I kind of have, but I need to put it on, so I'm putting it there. And I also repeat what I said. Okay, what I said last time. And that is Andrew Ng said that in California, they have promulgated the law which essentially can kill all of AI. All right, within the good guys, because the bad guys won't listen. But the essence of that law is that anybody who makes AI will be then responsible for other people using AI in their own way. And he compares it to anybody who makes an engine will be responsible for other people making bad use of that engine. That sounds crazy, but it's interesting how it will unfold. So maybe we should put in. I'm usually not into politics, but that's very interesting how it will unfold. Maybe we'll do that. All right, but thank you very much. Thank you for one more level of literacy, and that's very interesting. Thank you, Cher, and I'm putting it over there. All right. Well, now we definitely covered all. Thank you so much. Be well. Ami asks, how about previous webinars? They are all, oh, you mean on elephant scale they're not there. That, of course, is the person who is doing that. I will send it to her. Emailing that to her. All right. Thank you very much. All the best. Great weekend and great weekend, great year.